stay stood up. Jack nearly took my eye out there. Hey, stay stood up. As Lucy said, my name's Nathan, and I get the privilege of speaking to you tonight. But before I do, I want to give a huge welcome to anyone who is here at Icon Youth for the very first time. So come on, let's welcome one another. So good to be at Icon Youth tonight. Okay, why don't you high five 3 people and take your seats. Is everyone doing good? Has anyone, listen up, has anyone, so I want a show of hands, okay? Anyone who has come in their school uniform, that they wore today. Just raise your hands. Okay. Now, listen. Okay, you drop your hands down. I salute you, okay? Now, who went home and put on a fresh uniform for tonight? Did you have a bath or a shower before you put on a fresh uniform? Raise your hands. 1. Oh, you did. 2. Hold on. Let's give it up for hygiene, people. Love a good bit of hygiene. Okay, listen up. Hey, why don't you get something ready to take notes with? Here at Icon Youth, we love to take notes, and we love to take this moment. I'll just wait. There's a few conversations going off. Oh. See, I love that because it feels like classroom now, doesn't it? Because whenever someone... Anyway, it's been a long time since I've been in a classroom. But we love to take notes here at Icon Youth because this moment, maybe you've never been in a moment like this, but we're going to... I love it. We're going to open the Bible in a moment, and we believe this is the Word of God. And you might be here and you might be going, oh my word, what is he on about? But I really believe that tonight, if you'll open your heart and you'll really lean in and you'll pay attention, that I believe God will speak to you tonight. And we take it like a bit of time out on a Friday night. Not that I'm here every Friday now, but we take a bit of time out every Friday night to hear what God wants to say to us as Icon Youth. And right now we're in a series called Leading Youth Culture. Leading Youth Culture. And there's lots of cultures around, and there's lots of things that are around our world that maybe aren't so healthy or we get called into. But as a youth ministry, as Icon Youth, we're called to lead youth culture into all that God has for us, to lead it into the good things, to lead it into positive things, and not the negative things that the culture has for us. And that requires us as a generation and as a young people to grab a hold of what we're talking about, to grab a hold tonight and go, okay, how do I apply that to my life? But also, even in this moment, because God's not afraid of your questions, even in this moment, you may have doubts, you may have questions. Your question may even be, is God real? Well, I believe if you'll just ask that question and say, okay, God, I'm asking you to reveal yourself to me, I believe he will. And many people's stories in this room and in Icon Church are that they belonged before they believed. I want to tell you tonight that if you're in this place and you wouldn't say, oh, I believe in Jesus, I believe in everything that we're singing about, this is still a place you can belong. It's still a place you'll find friends and family and people who will care for you and who will want the best for you. But also, I believe that if you'll turn up long enough, God will reveal himself to you. And that's many people's stories, that they belonged before they believed and God revealed themselves to you. Let me just mention a couple of things before I give you the title of my message. The first thing is this, that this Sunday in our 11 a.m. service, we are relaunching Youth AM. Youth AM is for all those 11 to 14 years old, okay? And it's going to be amazing. I think Joe and Imi are going to be leading that. Joe, just stand up. Imi, just stand up. Give people away. So if you come on Sunday in the 11 a.m., grab these guys and they will tell you when we take the offering and church news comes on, we're out there. And we're going to have a whole load of fun. Give it up for Joe and Imi. The next thing is I want to encourage you to be at the 6 p.m. this Sunday night. One, because my wife's speaking. So Debbie's speaking. And secondly, because we need to bring the atmosphere and the energy to the 6 p.m. Okay, I've just wasted 5 minutes doing all of that. So let's get into it. The title of my message is this: Green Flags That Are Red Flags. Green flags that are red flags. I don't know if they're as popular now, but there was a season where those red flag memes were really popular. And they were going about, especially on Twitter. Who has Twitter in the place? Who never posts on Twitter but has Twitter? Yeah, just interact with it. But I asked some of our youth leaders for some red flag memes, and these are some of the memes I got. The first one is this: I leave myself unmuted while I eat. Disgusting. That one was from George Heeks on the front row. The next lot were all from Megan. Megan just went in. Now that could be a green flag. I would change that. People who do like cats, red flag. Anyone with me? Sorry, I'm sorry for all you cat lovers, but cats go to hell. I've got a supporter on the front row here. I'm joking, by the way. But yeah, the next one. When they have the audacity to say they're just plants. Whose bedroom is full of plants? Whose bedroom is full of plants? Right. Listen, we will have a prayer ministry afterwards for those who feel the need to look after plants in their bedroom. I think we've got one more. Is there one more? I'll have pizza with no cheese. I mean, what? Are you a pizza no cheese person? I see you arguing. Oh, you're having an argument. Is anyone pizza with no cheese? Lord, we just ask for your healing power right now to... is that the last one, team? Just get it off the screen if it is. There we go. That's the last one. I had the one putting pineapple on a pizza. Hold on, right? Listen. It's called Hawaiian pizza, but they don't eat it in Hawaii. Anyway. So, leading youth culture. Hear me. You might even just look at that first word, leading, and say, this isn't for me. You might say, I'm not a leader, but let me give you a simple definition of leadership that you can write down. Leadership is influence. Leadership is influence, and we all have a level of influence, which means we all lead. And so we all lead in some capacity in youth culture. And maybe it's time to start leading intentionally. Maybe it's time to not start drifting and just doing what we do, but it's time to start leading intentionally. So how do we lead in the world that we live in? Let us think specifically about this world, the online world. the social media world, the online world that we all consume, that we're all a part of. For some of us, it may just be in the gaming world. For others of us, it may be like pretty much our whole lives. That like, this is our world, this online. And for me, the question is, am I allowing the things in this world to distract me from my purpose? The things in this world to distract me from what God has got for me. Am I allowing this to distract me? I was listening in preparation for this message. I've been listening to a whole load of podcasts around social media and the online world because I don't have all the answers. And to be honest, when I was listening, I was going, oh, I fall into that trap. So I'm listening to this message as I wrote it. I'm like, God, I need saving from these things as well. And I need help to navigate this world as well. Because anyone do their homework with their phone next to them as they do their homework? It's not your answers. That's your brain. Okay, listen up. When it buzzes or you see a notification, do you pick it up? If you don't, well done. Listen to this. I want you to listen to this. I want you to be truly shocked by this. Okay, they've done studies. They've done studies, right? And you are focusing. You are in the zone of focus. You are on your homework. I know, Aidan, you don't do your own work. You're in the zone of your homework. And that notification comes. And you just have a quick glance. You just have a quick look. No harm. Yeah, it takes you 23 minutes to get back into the state of focus you were in beforehand. Wow. I went, oh, snap. I should be sacked because I look at my phone like, yeah, and I'm never in that. There's a guy called Tristan Harris. Some of you may have watched the Netflix documentary Social Dilemma, and he's the guy from Gmail, and he was the guy who kind of brought about the idea that whenever someone gets an email, they should, like, their phone should buzz with a notification or it should vibrate. And he came up with that idea. He was walking down the street and he could just hear these phones buzzing. And he went, what have I done? What have I done? Because people are getting distracted. But more than distraction, are we allowing this world to allow us to the things that should be red flags in our life to become green flags? Like, are we allowing this world, this online world, to say this is okay when it actually should be a red flag and not a green flag? That it shouldn't be something that we're allowing in our lives. Because what we allow in our life is so important. What we allow in our life is super important for each and every one of us. And if we're going to lead youth culture today, that means we're going to have to be the example in leading youth culture online. To be the example in what God is calling us to do in this space. Let me put it like this, that what we do in private will eventually evidence in public. What we do in private will eventually evidence in public. I know some of you are a bit skeptical, so let me break down how this happens. And I'll give you some scripture for this, okay? The first thing is this, that we consume whatever it is. And how many of us realize, like, how many of you realize how addictive TikTok is? That's a new one I'm making. I'm just in the process of creating this app called TikTok. And it's class. Like, you get 90 seconds to put a video on TikTok. How many of us realize how addictive TikTok is? Like, you just click on the app and the next thing, an hour is gone. Okay, some of you are not shocked by that. That means you just click on the app and 3 hours have gone. I know some of you don't give me eye contact right now. But the first area that we consume on all of these platforms, online, gaming, wherever it may be, YouTube, TikTok, Nathan's new app, TikTok, is your eyes and your ears. See, it's so important what we allow in our life. The psalmist wrote this in Psalm 119 and verse 37. Turn my eyes from looking at worthless things and give me life in your ways. So I realize there are some good things on social media for me to look at. There are some good things in the online space for me to hear. I'm so thankful this week for podcasts that I got to hear on this subject. But there are lots of things that are worthless and actually just kind of take my time and distract me from the purpose that I have. I want to be able to navigate this space well. See, Jesus put it like this in Matthew 6, verses 22 to 23. The eye is the lamp of the body. If the eyes are healthy, he's talking about what comes into our eyes. He's talking about what we're seeing. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. I love that. I love that because I have a choice to allow certain things into my life. I want to allow things that bring about light in my life. I don't want to bring about the darkness in my life, because it goes on, it says, if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? So the first area that we consume with is our eyes and our ears. But what happens is the more we consume of that certain content, or the more we consume of that opinion, or the more we consume of whatever it may be, it enters into our heart. Proverbs tells us in Proverbs 4 and verse 23, above all else, guard your heart. For everything you do flows from it. Not some things, everything you do flows from it. You know, people say, follow your heart. Well, you do naturally. That's naturally what you do. But that means I've got to guard my heart. That means I've got to guard my heart, because what I allow can root itself in my heart. That opinion, that view. There are certain things that we're allowing ourselves to consume that should be red flags in our lives. Why? Because we'd want them to be red flags in our heart. We wouldn't want to allow them in our heart. But we've got to have a discernment as a young generation who are the first ones to deal with this online world at this pace and the state that it's in right now. We've got to discern and say, hey, no, that's a red flag in my life. I'm not going to, no longer am I going to consume that content, because I do not want that to root in my heart, because out of my heart, my life flows. I don't want to view the world that way. I don't want to view people that way. I don't want to look upon people and have that derogatory image of people. I want to look upon people in a good way, in a pure way, in the way that Jesus is calling me to. See, Jesus would say this in Matthew 15 and verse 18. He says, but the things that come out of a person's mouth come from where? It's not a trick question, it's on the screen. Where do they come from? The heart. No, but the things that come out of a person's mouth come from the... It's all right, we'll do it karaoke style next time. And these defile them. So it roots in your heart. The next place is it evidences out of your mouth. It becomes part of your life. It comes out of your mouth. That's what Jesus said, that out of the heart everything flows and it'll come out of your mouth. Have you ever had that moment where you're like, why am I so angry? Have you ever had that moment where you've spoken to someone? Like I have, okay? I've had moments where I've spoken to Zion, my 8-year-old son, and I've gone, why have I spoken to him like that? And I realized some of the things that I've consumed have been in my heart. You know, that I'm talking about the online world because we spend so much time in it, but sometimes that's even just hanging around with certain people and certain friends. Doing that actually it eventually comes out of the heart. Ephesians would tell us to do this in Ephesians 4 and verse 29. Let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths, but only talk that is good for building up, as fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear. Let talk come out of our mouths that build one another up. I want to be a good gossiper. Okay? A good gossiper. Not a gossiper that tells everyone all the flaws of somebody else. No, I want to be a good gossiper that tells everyone in the background all the amazing stuff about someone when they're not there. I want to speak well of people behind their backs, not just in front of their faces. But much of the online world is about tearing others down. I'll share something that I found out, which was like mind-blowing to me. And then I did a little research on it and went, oh, it's true. But you have to wait and pay attention because you'll find out. And so here's what happens. It roots itself in our heart. It comes out of our mouth. And then eventually it becomes part of our life, or we could say it becomes part of our soul. It becomes part of our soul. One of the things, becoming a parent, and now a parent of 3, is I don't want, so some parent is like, oh yeah, we want them to go through certain experiences to gain worldly experience. And I understand that in some sense. But this part of me goes, no, I don't want them to face that. Because I've tried that way, and yet it damaged my life. Now, I'm so thankful for Jesus, for his forgiveness, that I can be made a new creation. That today you can be made a new creation, that his grace is available for you, that he is for you. But here's what Jesus would say in Matthew 16 and verse 26. He says, what good will it be for someone to gain the whole world? So what good is it for my sons to go out and live their lives and make the mistakes I do, and it could end up costing them their soul? No, I want to teach them in the ways they should go. The Bible tells me that. Anyway, that's a parenting tip for all of you parents out there. But what good will it be for you to gain the whole world and yet forfeit your soul? Or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul? See, you might be here tonight and you might be like, oh my life, this is heavy. But let me encourage you with this verse. Psalm 62 and verse 1. Truly my soul finds rest in God. My salvation comes from him. You see, tonight, I'm calling us to lead youth culture in this area of being online, in this space that we all live. Where however deep or however much we're on it, I'm calling us to do that. But I want you to know that wherever you're at in your journey, wherever you find yourself tonight, that you can find rest for your soul in Jesus. That tonight you can find yourself, and I'll speak about a few things and you might be going, that's me. Well, the answer might not be, I do less of this or I do less of that. The answer tonight might be, no, I give everything to Jesus. The answer tonight might be, I surrender my life to Jesus. The answer tonight could well be that I just be honest with God and say, this is where I'm at. I need to find rest for my soul. I need to find rest for my soul. It can seem daunting, can't it? This huge space. How do we lead youth culture in this youth space? Youth space, huge space. How do we lead youth culture in this space? And it starts with us navigating it healthily. It starts with us navigating it healthily. It starts with us asking questions, the questions that I've been asking over the past few weeks. How do we enjoy it whilst also make sure it's not consuming my life? How do I make sure I enjoy this space that is there for my enjoyment whilst also making sure it does not consume my life? How do I not become addicted to endless scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and moving on to the next TikTok video and the next TikTok video? How do I do that? How do I make sure that that website is well out of reach in moments of temptation? How do I make sure that I speak well of others in gaming platforms? How do I make sure I do all of that? 2 Timothy 2 and verse 22 says this, run from anything that stimulates youthful lust. Instead, pursue righteous living, faithfulness, love, and peace. Enjoy the companionship of those who call on the Lord with pure hearts. You see, there are things that will cause us to go down places that we would never want to go, and let's call them red flags today. And it's in those moments I've got to learn to run. I've got to learn. You see here, it doesn't say just walk away or just stay there and resist it. No, it says literally run. Run away from it. Run away from it. Don't take your time. Run away from it. See, we've allowed culture, because I know I've done this, we've allowed culture to push us into some red flags that would have been red flags in our lives, and we've begun to accept them as green flags in this online space. Maybe that's what we look at. Maybe that's the way we speak. Maybe that's the images we send or we ask for. Maybe it's the way we talk on gaming. Maybe it's, I don't know what it is for you, but maybe it is. And what the algorithm would love to push into our lives is fear. What the algorithm would love to push into our lives is anger. What the algorithm would love to push into our lives is the fake appearing real. The fake appearing, and here's what happens, and here's what this creates. It can create in our lives fear. It can create in our lives anger. It can create in our lives self-worth issues, anxiety, loneliness. It can create a whole load of things. And let's go back. When we allow these things into our life, when we allow ourselves to see them and hear them, they get rooted in our hearts. They then outplay in our lives through the way we speak and act, and it leads to our soul becoming damaged. So how do we, Icon Youth, lead youth culture online? We have to turn some of those red flags that we've made green flags back into red flags. We have got to make a decision tonight. That is a red flag. That is a red flag. I'm just going to give us 3 tonight, but you could go away and go, I can't do that anymore. That's a red flag in my life. First one is this. What if we recognize the red flag of fear and chose the green flag of good? What if we recognize the red flag of fear and chose to engage with the green flag of good? Those things that are good, those things that promote good and promote health and promote positivity, the good instead of the fear. Choosing to engage with the good in that world. Choosing to engage with the good in that. Choosing to be good with our comments and our shares. Here's that bit of information that I found. When someone posts something, especially like on Instagram, the first comment is the most important, because 98% of the comments after that will follow in the same suit. So if the first comment's negative, guess what? 98% of the comments are negative. If the first comment is outrage, 98% of the comments are outrage. What if we be the change? What if we be the people who bring about good? What if we be the people who promote the good, the things that are good? Galatians 6 and verse 9 says this, so let's not get tired of doing what is good, because at just the right time we'll reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up. It can be hard to be countercultural in a world, and that's why the writer of Galatians says, don't give up doing good. Don't give up doing good, because everyone would love to focus on the negative, the fear, the things that are wrong in the world, but we're called to promote the good, to promote what is good, to promote what God has given us to do. The culture would love us to push us into fear, but actually God wants to say, no, let's us bring the culture to the good, the goodness of God, the goodness of what God has got for each and every one of us, the good that God has for us. And it can be so easy to give up because it can feel like we're the only one. But here Galatians tells us don't give up, because at the right time. I'll share a little story. Many of you know, it's to do with football. I'm not going to say many of you know I play football, and I've come as that PE teacher that always wears shorts tonight. And but when you play football, you get put in for many of you, you'll have WhatsApp groups. Well, when you play football, you're getting put in a WhatsApp group. And you can imagine 25 blokes in a WhatsApp group. You can imagine some of the stuff that gets shared. The problem is I have to be in that WhatsApp group to get the information about all the games. And so it's like, do I exit? Do I stay? What do I do? So I just choose what I engage with. I play no videos. I have never played a video in that group, and I never will. Debbie's played one of them videos in that group before. It was by accident. We were traveling down on the M1, and she says, well, one of your mates just posted about an accident on the M1. I said, do not play that video, and she played it. And she immediately regretted it. I do not. Why? Because that's a red flag in my life. There might be some videos that I could engage with. I'm not going to engage with them. Do you know why? Because it'll be the moment I click on one that I engage with, and then I go, oh, I've done one now. I'll do another one. And I'll do another one. Oh, and it doesn't matter. No one's seen. I'm by myself. No, what I do in private will eventually evidence in public. What I allow to see will eventually take root in my heart that eventually will come out of my mouth. You see, you've got to choose to engage with the good. You've got to choose to do that. Even well before like social media and stuff, I made that decision traveling on coaches to football games where lads would bring magazines and we'd be traveling on a coach, and I would just like say, oh, no, I'm not going to read that, pass that on to someone else, all of that. I'm not called to bring judgment, but I'm called to protect my life. I'm called to protect my life. I'm not called to tell them you're wrong, but I'm called to bring about good. And I'll have some good conversations. And guess what? I've had loads of good conversations about church, about why I make those choices, all of that. Why? Because I've decided, hey, I'm going to see the red flags and decide, here's a green flag. I'm promoting good. I'm promoting good. The second one. Come on, Joe. Come and make me sound good. The whole team can come up. I'm nearly done. What if we recognize the red flag of anger and chose the green flag of pure? The things that are pure. The pure instead of anger. And when I say pure, it doesn't mean that everything is like prim and proper and perfect. And I'm not even just talking about some of the things that we're thinking about, but I'm choosing to engage with the pure instead of the controversial. One of the things that YouTube does, the number one promoted video by YouTube in the algorithm has in the titles, knocked out, killed, beaten up. Because everyone loves a bit of gossip. Everyone wants to see a fight. Yeah? That's what happens. Yeah? Right? We've got someone who's been hooked on YouTube here. See, the problem with that is that promotes anger in our own lives. Because what we allow takes root in our hearts. And eventually it comes out of our mouths. You see, we might all love a good bit of gossip, but actually there's a better way. 1 Timothy 5 and verse 22. Leave the opening bit, but it says this: do not share in the sins of others. Do not share in the sins of others. Don't be drawn into what other people are doing. Don't be drawn into that. Keep yourself pure. Why? Because above all else, you've got to guard your heart. Above all else, you've got to guard your heart. Keep yourself pure. I know, you might say, but everyone's doing it, Nathan. I had a moment with Zion this week. He was at football training, and a lad came and kicked his ball away as he's trying to dribble, and so Zion got him back and kicked his ball away and put him on the floor as well at the same time. And part of me was like, yes, good lad. And then part of me was like, no, I don't want you to do that. I just want you to concentrate on your football because that's what you're here for. So in the car on the way back, I said, Zion, why did you do that? And he went, because he did it. And so I had that great parenting moment where I sounded exactly like my dad. And I said, if he shoved his head in an oven, would you do it? Has anyone's parent ever said something like that? Yeah? Right? Really, I should have been a lot more tactful in what I said. But we do the same. We follow others. Oh, they're doing that, so I can do that. No. Your responsibility is keep yourself pure. Keep yourself pure. Why? Because maybe the very thing that you get led into is the very thing that could damage your soul, that could cause you to be away from what God is calling you to do. It's about your heart. And the last one is this: what if you recognized the fake and chose to engage with the real? I love that there's a bit of a movement now of people on social media that are kind of out in the fake and bringing about the real in the world. And so here's the thing for me, is I want us to promote real relationships. Can I be honest with you? What I get discouraged about is when young people promote relationships and then 3 weeks later that relationships, and it's not just relationships, and so I'm talking celebrity relationships, and 3 weeks later that celebrity relationships died, and then in 3 weeks later you're promoting their next relationship. No. Do you know what I want to follow? Real relationship is someone who's been married for 30 years, who have been faithful to one another for 30 years, who have been consistent, faithful, had kids, now got grandkids, have been faithful to one another. That's real relationship that I want to follow. Not all of this fake relationships. No, real love takes time. You know, even for many of us, we've entered into the world of websites, certain things that would tell us this is how your relationship should be. This is how intimacy should be. This is what it should be like. And yet, it's not at all. Real relationships you work for, you invest in. Romans 13 and verse 14, last verse. Rather clothe yourself with Jesus and do not think about how to gratify the desires of your flesh. You see, there might be a moment of instant satisfaction, a momentary high, but it leaves us feeling low afterwards. Real takes time. It takes work, but it's so rewarding. So Icon Youth, whether you're here for the first time, or whether this is your 160th time, let's be a people who lead youth culture online. Let's be the change. You see, here, I'm not telling you don't engage with that world. No, that world's here. Even for some of you, you've been sending Snapchats as I've been talking. Everyone who sent a Snapchat went. For some of you, you've even been on why? Because it's there. But I wonder if you might have missed a moment that God wanted to speak to you. Hey, there's no judgment here. I just want to call us to a greater living, a better living, a living that finds Jesus, a living that knows Jesus. Because I tell you, there's nothing like it. And today you might say, well, that's what I want to be like. That's who I want to be like. But with Jesus, you don't have to come with any filters. You don't have to come with any masks on. You don't have to come with anything. You can just come and be real and say, this is me, Jesus. And he will say, I love you. And I'm for you. I sent my son to die on the cross for you. And you didn't have to earn my love. You know, there's some people out there who you have to earn their love. You have to try and, you know, they're asking you for that certain photo, or they're asking you to do that certain thing. And they're like, hey, if you loved me, you'd do this. Well, that's not real love. That's fake love. Real love was exampled by God, who sent his son Jesus to die on the cross for each and every one of us. That wherever we found ourselves in life, whatever life looked like, wherever you find yourself today, he did that for you. So I wondered, Icon Youth, if we just stand in this moment. And as we stand,